Welcome to this program of the American Topical Association. This is a part two that came about because of the wild popularity of the part one of this topic that happened last fall. So this is Energizing Your Stamp Club, part two. Today we come back to our subject of how to energize your stamp club. The first part was done by Todd Ganzer of the Greater Boston Philatelic Society, and Todd is back with us today. And he is joined by Michele Bresso, who is an ATA board member, retired professor of communications, and has expertise in leading discussion groups. So she will be lending a hand today.
No
And
pressure, right?
yeah, no pressure at all. And with that, I will turn it first over to Don Hammond for a few words, and then we will get going.
Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to have you all here as we begin ATA's 75th anniversary celebration. All year we have festivities, and we're really pleased to have this wonderful program this evening. Before we start our program, I would just like to tell you that this evening, because we have such a large group, we would like you to put your questions and comments in the chat. And we will, as we come to a topic, we will look at your questions and comments and respond to them. This is the way that we can keep order here. So remember, please use the chat rather than the raise hands, and we'll try and give as many people an opportunity to get their questions answered as we can. So now I'll turn it over to Todd, and we'll get started.
Hello, everybody. I am thrilled to be back here. I can't tell you how happy I am to see how many people are actually interested in this. It was quite a shock the first time around. I thought I was the only person who was really talking about this, and it's great to hear from other people and get their opinions. This is part two. So the first time was more or less a static presentation with a lot of questions at the end. We want to do things a little bit differently tonight. What I'd like to do is go through some major topic areas. I went through the last presentation, I went through the recording and the chat, and kind of broke out as many of the questions as I could find into these major areas: social media and website, meeting options, getting the word out, equipment, and then everything else. What I'd love to do is go through this. I've got a slide for each one. I'll talk to the slide very briefly, and then I'll ask for input from everybody else who's here, because you guys have got a lot of answers, and we want to collect all of them. Social media. So the big questions were around: is it important? Should it be a communication channel for the club or a way to reach out to new members? How do you keep it all together? Websites, then the various social media channels: Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, X, Facebook. I'm a big believer in this side of the house. I'm working with Boston 2026 on this, and I'm doing this for my own club. I think that to attract new members, that social media is one of the most important tools we have at our disposal. For the most part, it's free. So we can do whatever you can do whatever you want without having to pay for it. It gets information out to people. It allows you to share content and to get feedback. I just think it's pretty much top of the mark. I'd like to open this one up especially to find out what people are most interested in. What questions are there, and what do we want to talk about? And feel free to put questions in the chat.
So Todd, one question we had
Yep.
chat early on was someone said they'd love to hear a discussion on how to keep a club relevant and interesting to both experienced collectors as well as beginners. And maybe you could contextualize that as it relates to social media. How do we keep all of our club members interested, or can we?
That's a tough one to put in a social media context. I think you can. I think you can keep everybody happy. It's more of deciding what it is you want to say. So if you just want to share content, that's easy to keep everybody happy with. If you want to discuss, if you want to dive into the Twitter world, and discuss the current state of philately, the future state of philately, what everybody should be doing, that can get a little bit more divisive. But I think that question might be better on keeping it all together than it is in this particular area.
All right, we'll come back to that one. The next question was, do you have a recommendation of platforms? If we can't do them all, which one should we choose?
Yeah, I think if you can't do them all, a website, and the easiest one to get into that's going to get the most feedback is probably Instagram for stamp content. So if you're actually going to post pictures of stamps and tell a little bit about it and then put the picture out there for the world, Instagram is ideal for that. It's easy to use. There's a lot of people up there. You'll get a lot of feedback. People will comment. And then a website, because you always want people to know how to find you.
So the next question is related to persuading people in the club that may be skeptical about social media. I'm sure you've got some experience with this.
Just a
Is there a
little
way
bit,
to
yeah.
bring everybody on board, or are there just some people that aren't going to do it? And what do you do?
There's some people who aren't going to do it, and that's fine. Not everybody has to do it. Where you run into trouble is if you have members in the club who are so set against it that they don't want the club to do it. That's where it starts to get a little problematic. I've run into that actually, where the club was just, there are a couple of vocal members who were just like, no, we're not doing this. Social media is evil. Forget it. Move on. But if it's just a matter of a couple of people don't want to participate in the social media, fine. They don't have to. I mean, this is a hobby. It's not a dictatorship. You do whatever you want. As long as other members can, and the people who want to can share what they want to or can help make your club easier to find, you don't have to convince everyone. It'd be nice if you could. And over time, a lot of people will probably come around. But if people don't want to do it, they don't have to.
So one comment regarding an issue with being involved was that there's a problem if leaders in a club are reluctant to use social media. What are your thoughts about that, Todd?
That is probably the biggest problem. Let me rephrase that because that came out sounding a little bit harsher than I meant it. That's the biggest challenge, is if the people who are currently in leadership in your club say no. Because if they do, there's, short of convincing them, there's not a whole lot you can do. What I would recommend if you have people like that in the club is put together your own presentation. Don't worry about PowerPoint or anything like that, but show them some of the content that's currently out there. Show them some of the good stuff that you can find in TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, that these are good things, that they're not hurting anyone. And remind them that it doesn't cost anything other than time to do this. This is not a fee per service thing. You can just do this without having to buy anything.
So related to content, a question was, what type of content are you posting on each platform? Does it differentiate? And also, how often should things be updated?
So the content, I think that question comes down to how seriously you want to take it. You can put the same thing out across the board, and that's perfectly fine. For me, for our club, our website is static because we use it as our contact method. So the website doesn't change that much. I change the dates for events. I change the dates for meetings. I post meeting notes on the website. But other than that, it pretty much stays the same. Facebook is a bunch of stuff. that the various members of the Facebook group post. So that can be all over the board. That's self-serve. X, which is Twitter, is more geared towards conversation. If some of us have gotten into some fairly spirited conversations with, like certain members of the APS, on theory around stamp collecting. So there's that. YouTube is long format, so I post our meeting content. When we have somebody sharing content at a meeting, we record that. I'll post that. So half hour and up. And TikTok, couple of minutes. If you choose to go into there, that can be a kind of a pain in the butt once you get into it. Instagram, it's pictures of stamps. I mean, we have over 1,000 followers on our Instagram page, and all I've ever done is post pictures of stamps. That's it. No commentary, no nothing, just pictures of pretty stamps.
One person indicated that they are getting ready, their club is getting ready to ramp up social media. They wondered about the possibilities of having another club review their content to give them feedback, or can they use others' content to repost, for example, or is that something you shouldn't do? And
Well,
do you have
if you're on X or Threads, you can repost. There's just a button. You repost somebody else's stuff, and we do it all the time. If somebody post something that you really like and you think more people should see, you share that on so that more people see it. Posting your own content is something you should definitely be doing. I don't know. Whoever asked that question, if you want to reach out to me individually about reviewing content, I'd be happy to take a look. If you know other clubs in your area who are doing that, who are doing social media, you definitely ask them. All you're asking is, hey, does this look good? Yeah, we're just getting into it. But I don't see any problem with doing that. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great way to build the community too.
So for folks who are too far away from a stamp club, or they don't have a lot of local resources, their question is virtual their only option? What do you think?
I know we have digital philatelist in the crowd, and I know he has strong feelings on this as well. The online stamp community has gotten very big and very robust. If you do not have access to an in-person club, and you can get onto Facebook and search for stamp clubs, you can get onto Instagram and search for hashtag philately, same for TikTok, search for hashtag philately. You will find a lot of people who are willing to help if you have questions, who are willing to appreciate what you have to share. It's a very strong community right now. So yes, if you do not have access to a physical club, you can absolutely find what you need online. And it's getting easier every day. Digi, if you can put your website up in the chat, that would be ideal. The Digital Philatelist has a website that has resources, tons of online resources for the philately world. It's a great place to start your search.
So a question about how you get the resources to manage a website. One person specifically asked if you have IT expertise, and how do they manage websites and social media if no one has that expertise in the club?
So that is the big question, and I would love to hear from some other people up here on an answer to this question, because I don't have one. I'm an IT guy. I have experience with websites. Our website, I can tell you, was built with GoDaddy. And I think if you are computer literate, you don't have to be anything more than that. If you're just computer literate, you can work your way through the tools that you can use to build a website these days. I'm going to come back to the website a little bit. The social media stuff, that's dead simple. All you need is a smartphone. You know, all you need is a smartphone and build the account, and not even build, you just sign up. You know, sign up as your club name or sign up as your name, whatever, and then start posting pictures or participating in conversations. That doesn't require any kind of experience whatsoever. It doesn't require any equipment. I've never used anything other than my iPhone to do any of my video or picture stuff. So you don't need anything to do that. The website, you know, you might need some help with that. And like I said, I would love to hear from people on, short of paying someone, because there are companies you can have build a website for you. And if your club has the money, it's certainly worth it because it takes a lot off your plate. But short of that, I'd love some ideas on how we could pool resources to help the people who want to do this that can't. I'd love to offer, but I can't do it for everybody.
We do have one offer in the chat for content. Tom Fortunato suggested that he's encouraging all clubs to post meeting presentations as PDFs, PowerPoints, videos, whatever content, and make them available to others. Now, ATA already does this. All of these these types of video meetings are archived and available to anybody with complete access. Tom has posted a link for his group, the Rochester Philatelic Association. They also do that. So there are some resources for a variety of contents available to people out there. And he's offering that with a link for all. Then we do have a couple of questions that I think are better on later slides, so I'm holding on to them. One relevant question right now is how do we increase the number of followers on these? If we get up the nerve to be a part of social media, how do we grow it?
Keep posting. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Keep posting. This is the ATA, so a lot of you, my first collection was squirrels. And when I first started posting on Instagram and Twitter, as was, all I did was put squirrel stamps twice a week, different stamps. And that started people following because they knew there was going to be new content coming out. What you'll find is the more you do that, the more you post, the more you start to pay attention to what other people are posting, and you try to kind of up your game a little bit to keep up with the content. But that's down the line. Just post. Just keep putting it out there. You know, at least once a week, once or twice a week. And like I said, this is not rocket science. This is take a picture, hit post. It's not hard. It doesn't take time to do this. Unless you're trying to make money off of it, then it'll take a whole lot of time.
Brian Jones added a comment that he sees social media as a way to reach the general public, not necessarily as a resource for club members, but he hopes to attract people to the club who see the postings and make them aware that the club exists. No expectations about bringing club members in. It's all about building awareness for him.
That's a good theory. I mean, you know, using most of these channels for awareness is the ideal. I think you will find, though, especially if you get into the X world of philately, there can be some pretty serious conversations and discussions going on about different aspects of philately. So there is a higher level to be had. It's the same with Facebook. I belong to a group called Philately for Beginners, stamp collecting for beginners, one of the two. And it's people who are new into the hobby asking questions, showing stamps, how do I tell the color differences, all that kind of stuff. But there are some other ones that I belong to where there can be some really in-depth conversations about specific aspects of philately. So you can find it. It's out there. It just depends on what you're looking for. It's at every level.
So one question was, aside from interesting content, what advice can you offer about increasing engagement in social media in the form of, and they specified these specific things, comments on posts, responses to questions in threads, and volunteering to provide content? How do they increase engagement in those areas?
I'm gonna assume that you're talking about from internal club members because you mentioned getting people to provide content. So you're talking about getting members of your club to provide content for you to post. Would that be correct? If whoever asked that could come off mute real quick and just answer, that would probably be easiest.
It's meant both for members and for non-members.
Okay, Bob. So engagement there's entire classes on how to increase social media engagement. It's a business. My recommendation would be to post regularly, participate in other people's questions. So if somebody asks a question, participate. If there's a conversation going about, what should we do with the new self-stick stamps or whatever, participate. When you posting pictures and flat content is great, but if you post something that has a question, I like this because of X, Y, and Z, what do you think? That you can start getting people to respond to that, but it's all in how you phrase it, and it's all depends on the media you're using. So I find X is much more engaged in conversation, and Instagram is more looking at pretty pictures. So you kind of have to tailor what you're doing to the media you're on, and you'll pick that up quick enough if you start scrolling through things. It's not a secret.
So we're just to give you a heads up, Todd, we're 30 minutes in.
And we're in slide one.
So I'm gonna offer you one more question from the list and then recommend you move on to your next slide. And that question is, what would be a baseline expense to expect for your basic website, to buy the domain name or whatever you need to do? Is there a ballpark cost that we can expect, or a range perhaps would be easier?
Registration is pretty inexpensive. If you can do it in a 3-year batch, it's like $80, depending on the name and how popular it is. You can also do it yearly for like $20 a year. When I first started doing Greater Boston, I did it yearly because I didn't know if it was going to last and I didn't want to be into it for 4 years. But you can do it yearly. To build a website yourself, if you use, for instance, GoDaddy and you register through them, the software to build a website is $18 a month, and that's the only cost. So you've got your domain fee and the software that comes with the website to help you put your site together. If you want somebody else to build it, that's a hard question to answer. I would see baseline. You should be able to get into a standard informational, static, non-updated website for around $300. More complex, more expensive, more updates, more expensive. So it kind of goes from there.
Okay, I'd recommend you go to your next slide.
All righty. If I can find my mouse, I will do so.
And for those of you who have made some comments with ideas that are working in your stamp clubs for a variety of purposes, I'm creating a parking lot for those so that we can share them at the end.
Beautiful. Meeting options. This was another big question. Hybrid Zoom, daytime meetings in the winter, record presentations, and auctions. Those were the big categories of questions that came out of the last one. I've been very vocal about this. I'm a big believer that all meetings should be hybrid. So you should always have a Zoom component, Teams component, chat, whatever. You should always have an electronic component for members of your club who cannot make it to the meeting but still want to participate. They can not make it because of weather, time of day, or maybe they just don't want to drive anymore. And those are the ones that I really, 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 really don't want to lose. So I want to make it possible, as easy as possible for them to join every meeting, whether they want to leave the house or not. Daytime meetings in the winter, great if you can do it. Somebody else mentioned recording presentations and posting them later. And then auctions. This was the big one. In-person auctions are great. There is online auctions now. There's a stampsmarter.org has the ability to set you up for online auctions that you can do with your club. I am just looking into this now, so I don't have a lot of solid information, but from what I've seen, this is a game changer. This is going to allow you, if you're doing hybrid meetings, to still have auctions and have everybody participate the same. But what does everybody else think? I see auctions are a critical component. Yeah, I'm learning that. The auction site, Jennifer, is stampsmarter.org, and then contact the there's a contact link on there. Yes.
You. I'll just share that my club, the Knoxville Philatelic Society, has in-house auctions every few months, and a big one once a year. So those auctions happen at the end of our regular meeting. Our meeting will have a business component. We talk about the minutes, the treasury, blah, 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 old and new business. Then we have our program, whatever presenter is offering information that night. And then the auction, if an auction falls in that meeting, it would follow. Members have a chance to look at the stamps before the meeting and decide what they're interested in, and then stick around for the auction. And in October every year, our regular meeting is replaced by a very large auction that allows any member to submit materials to be auctioned off for their own benefit. They get the money. Because the others, the stamp club gets the money, because it's our stamps we're auctioning, generally speaking. Members can put their own items up that they would are willing to part with, and it's well attended and usually very active. So those are ways that we use auctions, and generally speaking, in advance, information goes out to all of our members. And people who can't be present, because we have members that don't live in Tennessee, we have members all over the country, can put in bids from afar.
Yeah, and that I didn't realize how important auctions were to a club when I first got into this. I have learned very quickly that they're one of the. Someone asked earlier on how you engage people at different levels. I think that is one of the big ways you engage people at different levels, because there's everything from a 10-cent stamp to buy to, a couple $100 depending on the auction in the club. So there's something for everybody there.
Our friend, the digital philatelist, reminds us that remember that when you go online, you are no longer a local club. You're global, and you never know where you'll find new members. And that's certainly been true for us. And of course, ATA, tonight's program certainly represents the fact that we've got people from all over the world attending different offerings that we do online. It's really powerful, and I love the idea that it creates an opportunity for relationships with philatelists all over the world. That is fun.
it's a great community, and it's kind of fun when you go to a show later and then meet people that you've been chatting with online for like the past couple of years, and then you end up at the same show. So it kind of builds some bridges. I think it's a great way to do that.
Oh, I've got a couple of comments here about the Knoxville group. Are the meetings something that we can attend virtually? Absolutely. Why don't you connect with me after the meeting and I'll talk to you about that. We do have a very innovative club that has found ways to, we're really good at buying lots from other auctioneers at a great price. The people that buy them are just really good at this, and then selling them back to members for a much smaller amount than we would buy elsewhere. The club makes money, we make money, and it's powered all of the things we're doing, including reaching out to members around the country through our online opportunities, website, Facebook, and we have a Zoom option for every meeting.
Ideal.
Okay, I've got
If
some
there's
comments. One person said that Kurt tells us that they hold a member bourse once a year with a potluck, and it's been well received, and they're
yeah,
considered
that's a good idea.
for spring. So that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that.
One person would like to know how other groups handle member directory. I don't know if that's something you want to address now, Todd, or is that a different topic altogether?
No, I mean, we can put that in here. It could be another, but it doesn't really matter. I think that's a club specific decision, because some people don't want their names online. They don't want to be findable that way. So I think that's kind of a personal decision on how you handle a club directory. One way to do it, if you want to use online tools, would be to have a Facebook group, but close the group so that only members of your club can be in it. This way you can only talk to each other. But that kind of goes back to the same kind of thought process behind not wanting to be in social media altogether. It's kind of a personal decision on how you want to handle directories. What I would recommend is that you always have an email address, if you want a phone number, but I think an email address is probably safer, for your club that is not tied to any specific person. This way, if somebody needs to reach out to the club, they can email information at thegpps.com. And even if I'm not here anymore, whoever is taking over that will still have access to that email. So it's the same email and people can always reach it.
Can you build a website free using Google Tools? Is a question from Stephen Bunker.
Probably, I mean, there's an inverse proportion between free and easy. So the more free it's going to be, the more technical chops you will need to do it. The less free it is, the less technical chops you need to do it. So it really depends on what you want to do. You're going to have to pay for the domain registration and a place to host it one way or the other. So there's going to be some cost. Building it, yeah, you can probably do it. I mean, there is a free version of GoDaddy tools. It was just, I liked the $18 one better. It was easier for me to use.
And one final comment back relating to your earlier comment about email addresses, not putting personal email addresses. Stephen indicated that when they put their officers' emails addresses on the website, it prompted scam offers and inquiries of collections for sale and all sorts of stuff that was really unwanted email traffic.
Yeah, I use one email address for the club, and it gets some garbage, but I've also been able to help a bunch of people find ways to get rid of a collection that they just acquired. Somebody passed and they've suddenly got this massive stamps and they have no idea what to do with it, or they don't want it. I've been able to help them find ways to donate sell, whatever. And I think providing that service as a club is important. You know, you are kind of a representative of the hobby, so the better you treat people, the better it is.
Okay, we're down to our last 20 minutes, and that was the end of the questions for this slide. Time to move.
All right. So, you know what? I'm going to go through this one really quickly. I don't think there's a lot to discuss on this. People can tell me I'm wrong. Getting the word out, your website, social media announcements, email blasts, mailers, all the ways that are you find to get people to find out you exist. The last one, show participation. I was shocked by how many members we got from the first show we went to, and how many people I talked to at that show who were interested in what we were doing. So I've got to say that show participation, having a table, great idea. Somebody in the previous meeting mentioned I don't remember if they called it a comfort table or a courtesy table, but they had coffee, donuts, and water, and a bucket for donations to kind of offset the cost. But that you could bring somebody over, get them a cup of coffee, and tell them all about what you do. I think it's great. You just got to have people who are willing to sit there and do it.
We did
We
have
can talk.
a
Go for it.
that was related to some of these things that you're talking about. Amy said that in Bowling Green, Kentucky, we're informal. We meet at NARA, second Sunday of every month. We pick a topic or a subject, bring material from our collections and share. It's a way to gather. What you're saying is food gets people to gather. And they found that out in Bowling Green, Kentucky as well. And it's a way to reach out.
It is. I brought that up at one point at the club early on, and people were like, "Do you want me to bring my stamps to where there's food?" No, but you can get around that. Just don't bring those stamps.
Makes sense.
I think we might be able to have time to go back to some of the other questions, because equipment and the social media can all be dealt with at the same time. And then the only one I really wanted to talk about was GPT. Somebody had asked about this. ChatGPT does not have access to live databases currently. So when I put in find me a stamp club in Boston, it basically said, no, I can't do that. But here's how you could do it. So I think that this would be a way, if ChatGPT is actually pushing people here, to make sure that you're in online directories, make sure you're in the local philatelic societies, hobby shops, libraries, make sure your club name is available in these places, and you'll get there eventually.
A couple of questions that we had that we decided were better for later. One person asked, I'd love to hear a discussion about how to keep a club relevant and interesting to both experienced members and new collectors.
I have an opinion on this, but I definitely want to hear from other people, because I'm a novice in the world of philately. I've been in for like 5 years, so I understand how to market this. That doesn't mean I understand philately enough to answer that question in depth. But I feel that a variety of content at your meetings would be the way to actually improve engagement, especially with newer collectors. Because a new collector who's just picked up the hobby, trying to listen to an hour-long presentation on different color shades of the same stamp, it's not going to do them any good. It's going to go right over their head. They're going to get bored to tears, and they're not going to get it. But if you can actually have someone present on some topics that are a little bit lighter, just bring people along slowly, meet them where they are, and help them move forward. The other thing that we've done in our club, and I know other people do as well, we always leave time for discussion. where if you got a question or a problem, you can bring it to everybody in the club at the meeting, and somebody will have something to tell you. So I think that's another big thing is allow time for chat, allow time for people to talk.
We've had several, I would call them idea comments throughout our talk tonight. And so this seems like a good time to share the good ideas that those of you listening have contributed. One member said, we've done an alphabet lottery where you pick a letter of the alphabet from a hat and do a display starting with that letter. It's amazing what wild and wonderful topics you see.
Ooh.
I
Now
know.
that's an engagement builder. I love that.
I love that too. I want to steal that one. So that was a fun idea. Another person said that they would be working with local universities in political science to seek interest. They're going to copy Graham Beck's idea of the $10 challenge to appeal to teens and young adults. And Todd, do you know the details of Graham's $10 challenge? Familiar.
I was in London for that. I got to watch it from afar.
So what was
Yeah.
the challenge?
Oh God, I watched the video. I'm gonna push you to his video. He's got a video up on his channel, but he did a $10 challenge that took place at London StampX, and it's got a lot of potential. It's pretty cool. It's a great video. Hit his channel, Exploring Stamps, and watch it. You'll get more information that I could give you on it. Like I said, I stood in the balcony and watched them all running around like crazy people. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
He has so many great ideas. This one I'm gonna make sure, Mike, you may have to elucidate me on this. Would a primer gathering on using, say, Uber and other methods for getting members together with events during and after hours travel at stamp show, would that be something of use? Or is there such a thing that exists? A compendium of ideas to help groups get together. That may be something that could be developed.
You hit it on the head, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, sir. Another said, think outside of the stamp community. History groups, postcard groups, you'll be amazed at how many hidden collectors are lurking out there.
Absolutely agree with that. And I got into stamps through collecting something else. So yeah, it's definitely hitting anyone who has an interest in books, coins, history, politics, art. You know, there's a huge variety of things. You just have to let them know that, hey, we've got this too, and they're on little bits of paper. They don't take up a lot of room.
And my own version of the challenge would be, I'd love to challenge all of you to use your connections in non-philatelic organizations to make people aware of stamps. For example, I had an opportunity to give a presentation, a virtual presentation, to a group of ladies from the Women's Institute of UK and Canada. And they have a letter writing pen pal campaign. So I did a presentation on the history of stamps because they all have to use stamps to write these letters. And
that's awesome.
Several people followed up my offer at the end for free topical stamps on any topic that they chose. And I personally gathered these through ATA's ATA offers groups of topical stamps for sale. I bought topical stamps on topics that these ladies said they were interested in, and I personally sent each of them a group of stamps. And a couple of members joined ATA because they realized that this was something they wanted to do. I had no idea. I just wanted to talk about stamps. So use your opportunity. You're members of all sorts of hobby groups, professional groups. There is a way to connect stamps to that topic. Let's see, for younger generations, social media is important resources that anyone can find. I believe that YouTube is very important, and least important is our website. Do you have a thought about the weight of YouTube, Todd?
I personally think YouTube is not as important as it was. I say that advisedly because it's still the best long content format there is. I think for the younger generation, if you want to show them videos, you're gonna have to get on TikTok because that's where they're looking. That's where they're gonna be, and you're gonna get a lot more views. Not a lot of people who don't know anything about a hobby are gonna watch a 30 to 45-minute YouTube video on that hobby.
Nope.
But 2 or 3 minutes, yeah, sure. People will do that.
Here's a question that perhaps would be best answered by either Jennifer or Dawn. The question is, how do you get involved in topical study groups?
We do have a list of our study groups on our website, our study units, and you can take a look there. And if we have a website for them, there's a link to their website for you to find them. If you need additional help, you can always contact the office. Contact me at ata@americantopical.org. But that's the easiest way to see at least the ones that we're affiliated with. I'm sure there's others out there, but
there are no squirrel study groups. I just want to bring that out here. There's no squirrel stamp study groups, and
no.
that's fine. It's a tragedy, but
And there's
you know.
no sheep
As
either.
a squirrel stamp collector myself, I commiserate with you on that. Okay, couple more great ideas from our participants as we wrap up tonight. One person said it still boils down to why people want or need to contact a stamp club. I submit 3. Number 1, learning. They're looking to learn about stamps that they have now or have an interest in. Number 2, pricing and selling. They want an evaluation of what they or a family member may have and its worth. And 3, buying or trading to add to their own collections. Addressing these 3 are keys to success in a stamp club.
I would agree with that. Greater Boston Philatelic Society does not provide pricing information ever. I push people over to a local dealer. If somebody says they want a price or they want to sell things, I send them to him because he's going to treat them better than I ever could, because you know we don't always know what we're looking at. So we don't do any pricing information, but you know, we'll help them donate, we'll help them learn things. You're absolutely correct. And those are most of the questions I get, by the way, are I just got this collection, what the hell do I do with it?
Yeah, we see a lot of that too. We also have a suggestion by one person who presented at a local Kiwanis club. The program was about the history of a local company, and this person shared numerous examples of postal history related to that business. The members were amazed to see so many, see my air quotes, antique stamps and covers. And you know, because the history is fascinating, and most people who are interested in a lot of things don't realize philately is out there on that topic, and it is always fun to see because it's cool. I'm sorry, I'm gushing, but that's the way it is. Okay, last few comments here of ideas. Show and tell sessions work great for everyone in their club, they said. Another said that we have a mentor program where experienced collectors mentor the newbies. And finally, one person shared that they got thousands of new members. Wow, I hope that this was mathematically accurate. Thousands of new members to the Rhodesian Study Circle Facebook group just by posting stamps, postal history, and postcards in history groups.
That group is that big.
Okay, that's very cool.
That's me,
Right.
and I'll promise you it was thousands. About 3,000 people joined.
That
That group is that big.
very fun. So we're
Oh, yeah.
toward the end here, and I invite you to bring us home.
So I think that just the fact that we've had 2 talks on this show that there is a huge appetite for people to help move the hobby forward in any way possible. And it it helps me a lot because when I first started doing this in the Boston area, I got nothing but pushback. So actually hearing from other people who think that we need to modernize at least a little bit, I think it's wonderful. There are tons of resources out there online. I highly recommend that anyone who's here and anyone who has a club and anyone who cares about this, you can find more out online than you can ever get out of one of these meetings. These meetings are a great starter. They're a great way to make people think and a great way to kind of help get the juices flowing. But there are resources out there that can help you in the specifics of these questions all over the place. You just got to look for them. And if you're looking for them and you run into a problem, you can't find anybody, shoot me an email and I'll help you find somebody.
Thank you, Todd. Great talk. Jennifer, take it away.
Wow. Well, I know I've learned a lot. I did want to say, as far as the social media goes, just
We could do a whole meeting on that.
yeah, just jump in and give it a try. A couple of a few of you may have seen my fun little attempts at social media the last couple of days. I'm not a professional and it is not perfect, but I thought, why not? Let's jump in and try.
We love the birthday party hat on Instagram.
And the first one that I did not do it in the proper resolution, but I Googled, how do I get this in the proper resolution? And lo and behold, the second one, I got it right. So there are resources. Just Google is your friend. So,
Just to chime in on that a little bit, the digital philatelist is also your friend. When I first started doing this, he was one of my main resources. I reached out to him directly through Twitter, I think, and he got me pointed in the right direction. So definitely use him as a resource. Sorry, you're going to get a lot of emails, but definitely use him as a resource. And again, you can feel free to reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help where I can. Go to the GBPS. I'll put it up on the chat, and the club email address is up there, and I'll respond to anything that comes in.
I saw several people ask us to continue this discussion, and someone I thought had a good idea. Let's get together maybe again in the fall and people can report on what they've been doing after these sessions, and we'd love to do that.
I'd also think that we could do an entire meeting on just social media, like theory, basically.
Well, we do have a session
Do
coming
you?
up later.
Good.
I don't remember the exact date, but we do have one coming. So look on our events page because I don't remember the date off the top of my head. But yes, we
Fantastic.
do have one coming. So everybody be sure and attend that one as well. And I will get this recording posted and I will send everyone an email to let you know when it's up and online so you can watch it again.
Great.
So I really appreciate you doing this for us again, Todd, and Michelle did a
My
great
pleasure.
job there fielding those questions. And so thank you everyone for coming, and I look forward to seeing you at our next event. So great job.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.
See
Bye.
ya.